Now, before we get into it today, here's my nugget for you. To thine own self be true. Oftentimes, we show up in many roles, fulfilling many responsibilities for a lot of different people and reasons. And as a result of that, we oftentimes leave ourselves with what's left over and function on fumes when it comes to what it is we want and desire. The conversation today is really going to tap into this whole perspective of being true to yourself, recognizing what your needs are and making them a priority. And so, as we get ready to jump into this conversation, I want you to keep in the back of your mind ways that you need to be true to who you are. Now, let's get into it. For the longest time, I secretly wanted more. I often found myself shrinking to fit in, settling for what was comfortable, and even selling myself short. Once I finally accepted that we deserve success and we are blessed with the power to achieve it, I stopped playing small. I'm serious about building a life I love, and you should be too. I'm Denise Taylor of DeniseTaylor.live, and welcome to Embrace Your Power. I help women prioritize themselves, their success, and their happiness. Now let's meet this week's achiever whose story will inspire you to embrace your power and go. Well, hello there. It's Denise Taylor. You know, I'm always excited to have you join me each and every week right here on Embrace Your Power. You know, what's interesting is I call Thursday Treat Day because that's the day when a new episode is released for you. And in my mind, that's where we are connected. Now, whether you are watching me on YouTube or listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, I want you to know that this is a connection that I value. Being a part of your life is something that I take extremely serious. You see, around these parts, this is where you can always count on me to champion you to build a life that you love. You see, we believe that God has not given us a spirit of fear, but He's given us power. And when we embrace our power, we can be, do, have, and achieve anything that we want. And that is the reason why I get excited when I connect with you. Being a part of your success journey is something that I consider a privilege and an honor. So thank you for plugging in right here. Now, if you haven't taken time to give me feedback, I'd love to hear from you. So be sure to rate and review the podcast. Not only does that let me know that I'm connecting with you, but that also says to the listening algorithms, serve this good content up to other people who need to be encouraged and empowered. Now, around these parts, we believe in the success superpowers. In fact, I believe that not only are they transferable, but they are reliable. Let me just run them down just in case this is your first time being with us. Success superpower number one is see yourself successful. I believe that once you get a vision of yourself being successful, there is a high probability that you can achieve it. Number two is shake off fear. We all feel it. We all feel fear, but I want you to know that when we go back to truth, to what God says about us, we can shake fear off. Number three is do the work. That's where we put our hand to the plow. We work to bring our dreams and visions to pass, but what I want you to also remember is that that work comes with a promise. God said He would bless the work of our hands. Number four is take care of you. The mantle of greatness is heavy, so you got to be fit for the journey. You have to have a self-care strategy that goes beyond nails and toes and really serves every aspect of who you are. And finally, number five is hold fast to your faith. We're going to move forward and we're going to face uncertainty. And in those moments, we got to be able to tap into something that will help to steady and sustain us. Now, Every week, I have some amazing people join who share their story. And the reason why that's critically important to me is I believe we get encouraged when we hear other people talk about their experiences, things that they have overcome to get to where they are. That's what I love about this platform because we bring everyday people to the virtual conversation so that we can learn just how they got over. And today is exactly in that same vein with my current guest. I'm so excited to have Navasia join. She has taken a healing journey, a personal journey, and now she's showing up to serve. And even more, she's lifting her voice. She has launched a podcast in addition to serving as a resilience mentor. We're going to talk a lot about her experience, and I love how transparent she is being with us when she hit her lowest low and what helped her to come out of that and begin to serve. So let's jump in and talk more to Navasia. So it's always exciting to have someone join the podcast who has a heart for women and encouraging us to really embrace our power and be authentic in our journey. And so when I think about Navasia and how she is showing up, her title is a personal resilience mentor, and I cannot wait to unpack that more. And from what I read and from what I know, Navasia is focused on empowering women to be true to who they are and to live an authentically fulfilled life. Now, that's a whole lot. And I think through this conversation, we're going to discover that we are leaving some things on the table and that we really need to go after life and live it to the full. And so I'm so excited to have Navasia join us. And we're going to just discover a lot about how she's serving and how she's showing up and how God is really using her to be such a champion for women. So Navasia, welcome to Embrace Your Power. And do me a favor, introduce yourself.
First of all, Denise, thank you for having me. My name is Navasia Collier. Like Denise said, I'm a personal resilience mentor, and I help you to become true to who you are, not just who you've had to be. I'm a strong believer that the more that we know we are meant for and that you secretly desire for yourself is found within your authenticity. So therefore, I help you to start and grow not just on a journey, but an authentic journey, and then begin to become more purposely fulfilled as a woman you were always meant to be.
Beautiful. I love that. And I love the clarifying word, which I'm going to ask you to unpack more, which is authentically. I know that's one of the words that shows up in your podcast. I know that that's one of the words that shows up in the purpose and how you serve. So help me understand a little bit more about the clarifying point when you say authentically.
Well, I know when I say the word authentic, a lot of people can think that the word authentic means, well, this is just who I am, or that, you're living your entire life in front of everyone. But however, the definition that I like and I gravitate to and that I speak to is being true to your character, your beliefs, and who you truly are.
Yeah, that's really, really good. Because I think one of the things that you also are very vocal about is a lot of the ways we show up is not necessarily in line with who we are. And so when you are challenging us to be more authentic and look at our true selves, it's really talking about how do you go back beyond the mask, the facade? How do you go back beyond all the roles that you carry and really begin to look at your own heart? Now, one of the notions I hear you mention often is around this whole context of strong woman. Define that for us and tell me, how can you relate to that persona?
Well, strong woman, that's a huge topic. And I believe all of us have our own definition of what a strong woman is. I'm learning now. I have learned along the way. What I thought a strong woman was is what I seen, right? And what was I had access to at an early age. So to me, a strong woman was a woman that held her own, that didn't have to depend on anyone. A woman that basically was the rock of her family. So that's who I thought a strong woman was growing up. And that is what I was told that I was early on. So therefore, you hear things a lot, you tend to believe those things, and then you begin living within the box of what that label is. So that's what I did. So now that, along this journey, I am learning that everyone has their own strong, right? I believe all women are strong. However, a lot of women don't necessarily identify themselves as being strong because they don't always feel strong. I'm here to tell you, I was a teen mother, a single mother for many years. I didn't always feel strong either. However, now I believe strong is just a part of us. Like I said, I believe all women has strength. We've all been through things. We've all survived through things that maybe the next couldn't. We all have our own story, and I've always understood that. I'm standing behind a woman redefining what that means for herself, or not even stay in that box of being strong, because I call myself, I'm the former strong, independent woman, because I wasn't just a strong woman. I was an independent woman, the responsible woman, all the things. So I redefined it for myself, and I'm just inviting other women to do that as well. It's who you are underneath, like you said, those masks that we wear, and the coping mechanisms that we have as a strong woman. So therefore, I believe strong now is a tool. It's not a lifestyle. I think a lot of women and a lot of us, I'm guilty. I'm not speaking from the outside. I was on the inside. It was a lifestyle for me. It was a lifestyle.
Mm-hmm. I love a couple of things that you said that really opened it up for me a little bit. And one was, we all have our own strong. And oftentimes, especially as we are growing and we have those examples of women in our lives, strong was almost synonymous with alone. And I think that is the biggest disadvantage that has been painted for us, is that proof of our strength was how much we could achieve on our own, how much we could do alone. And I think one of the things that we forfeit with that mindset, and I understand where it comes from. So I'm not here to debate the origins. I get our culture. I get what happened. I get how it was birthed. I get why it was sent down generationally through women. But I think one of the things that was a huge aspect that was forfeited by us having those examples is really the power of partnership, the power of community, the power of other women supporting. And I really love what I'm starting to see now, is that we're beginning to recognize that we together are far greater and more impactful in terms of what we can accomplish and do than we are alone. So we are starting to not say, to your point, your strong isn't good. Your strong is valuable, right? Your strong is what helps you to be resilient in the way that you've been able to overcome the challenges that you face. But we have to avoid the tendency to make strong drive us to being alone, because we oftentimes are forfeiting the biggest advantage. The other thing that I love for you in your journey and what you've kind of talked about here is how now you recognizing those things for yourself has translated into prompting you to serve. So tell us a little bit about your journey to becoming the resilience mentor, and also what experience prompted you to act and begin to show up in that way.
Well, Denise, like I said, I grew up in a family with nothing but strong women. single parent households. All the women in my family, they were raising families on their own. I was the first of five. So I seen a lot, and as I became a teen single mother myself, I followed those footsteps of what I've seen, right? Took care of everything that I needed to take care of. I grew up a lot faster because I needed to as a, teen mom. And if I'm honest, eventually I really held it as a badge of honor. Being able to get through anything I faced, any storms that I've been through, that on the other side of it, I thought that happiness and fulfillment was going to be waiting for me, because my heart, and I know I'm a good person, it's just that life is happening to me, So I really thought that happiness and fulfillment was on the other side, waiting for me. But years and years of that, and 3 children later, I realized that it just wasn't happening for me. I felt that there was something more deep down inside me, a feeling that I couldn't really shake off. I suppressed it a lot, but it just kept surfacing that, I'm meant for more, and I couldn't understand it because I've had everything that I'm supposed to need and want, right? So it got to a point, Denise, where after failed relationships, failed attempts to further myself and do things that I love and enjoy, I got to a point where I was going to bed every night feeling as if I don't wake up in the morning, it'll be less stressful for me. I felt like I was carrying the world on my shoulders every single day. So I got to a point where I found myself in the pouring rain in a cemetery at my grandmother's grave, crying and praying, asking for help, because I didn't know what else to do. I tried all the things that I've done in the past that has worked, that has gotten me through, me and my children, but it was not working anymore. I could not shake this feeling. I could not shake this. My tank was empty in some areas of my life. So I was crying and praying because I tried everything. So I was asking for help. I didn't know what else to do. This is me asking for help for the very first time as an adult, because I felt I needed to do everything on my own. That's what a strong woman does. She handles all things on her own. She doesn't need outside help. I got it was my favorite line. I got it. So I'm at the grave, crying and praying. And as I'm doing that, I look up, and across the parking lot in the car is everything that I've ever loved, everything that I ever thought I needed to be complete in my life, which was a nurturer, a protector, a provider, a lover, fiance, even the ID badge for the 20 plus year career that I had maintained along the way. Like, that was what I needed. Coming from what I came from, that's all I ever need. This is the life. This is all I ever needed to be complete. But then I had to really ask myself, if that is everything that I need and everything that I needed to be complete, then who is here crying in front of this grave? Like, who is here asking for help? So then I just had to take a look at myself. Then I realized that change that I know that needed to happen, that it had to happen within me, because I loved everything in that car. I loved everybody in that car. I wasn't miserable with that. No, I was happy with that. But I somehow lost me in the essence of life. I somehow lost me with the labels and responsibilities and all the things. So as I got up off that wet grass that day, I knew I had to make a choice. I had to make a choice, and I had to make a first step. And essentially, honestly, that first step was going back to who God says that I am. Because I didn't know who I was. I didn't know who I was outside of a mother for so many years. Since a teen, I didn't know. So I had to go back to who God says that I am. And then I had to really sit with myself and learn me And I know when I say that, when I had to sit with myself and learn, that's a scary thing for a lot of women to hear. A lot of women, a lot of us can get to a point where you're scared to sit with yourself because you don't want to really sit in the things that you're suppressed and buried for so many years. But that's what I had to do. If I want to continue to, like I said, I didn't know what else to do. If I wanted to continue to live, if I wanted to be truly happy and find out what this urge was, what obviously God was giving me a nudge towards, I had to really sit and find out who I was. And so I really began this journey of honestly unpeeling and peeling back the layers of the things that everyone needed me to be, the labels that everyone told me I had to fit into, all the things, and find out who Navasia was. Mm-hmm. That's what I had to do. And it led me on to this journey, because as I started to peel back those layers, I not only began to love myself, learn myself. It was a lot of reconditioning and all the things, of course. I realized I was showing up as me a lot better. And as a mom, what do we want? What is our why? Our children all the time, right? It's always our children. That's who we love the most. We care about them. But I've learned along this journey that the more I am in touch with myself, the more and the better I show up for everyone else. And as I began this journey, to be honest with you, something told me to just write. So I began a blog at the time. Didn't know what I was doing. I just wrote because I knew I was alone in my feelings. There wasn't anyone that I can look to. I look to my left and look to my right. It's like I felt as if I should just appreciate this and figure out how to continue life in this way. Or it was just nobody that was tapping into those feelings that I've been hiding for so many years. And now I can't hold it anymore. So I began to write because I knew I wasn't alone. I knew I wasn't alone. And I know there are many women that were in that space of feeling like every day they're feeling like, I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. So when I started, I just wrote, I started a blog, and honestly, it helped me, even though I was probably talking to no one at the time, but it helped me. It helped me not to feel so alone. So that is how, down the line, I, got into becoming a mentor, because nobody should have to do this alone. I think it's time that we really tap in to those true feelings. I know, like you said, I know what, the women before us, what they've had to do, why they have done it. But I'm a firm believer and if you know better, you have to do better. And what I've learned in my journey is not just for me. Like I realize it's not just for me, it's for someone else. So for me to be able to share and help and support another one through real experience with someone who actually understands, what it's like to feel like you're responsible for the whole world, but yet you don't know or how to tap into that more when it comes to you and yourself. Because it's hard to separate yourself from the roles that you play in life. So that's how I began in the blog, obviously transitioned into a podcast, which I'm sure we'll talk about a little later. But so that's how it actually began.
But when Navasia, there was no way I was going to stop you. You were sharing authentically from your heart. The experience that you just walked us through, while the events are unique to you, there are a lot of women that can relate to it, because we are showing up and we are making sure that everything's okay. But on the inside, we have secret desires, we have secret wants, we have unfulfillment that we're contending with. We have trauma that we are nursing. We have the blues, as I love to call it, that when we get alone, we experience just a little bit, but somehow we pick ourselves up and we just keep going. I
Right.
love your reference to I got it. I got it. I know I have said that. I
Mhm.
have used that as a call to myself to get busy.
Mhm.
And so I didn't want to interrupt you because I think in you really opening up and sharing, it really gives us a great perspective of what you had to work through. Because when you know everything you care about, yet that's not enough, right? And
Mhm.
you can identify all the things you love about your life, but it's still not enough. There's a wrestling that is going on the inside of us that can tear us down and make us quit despite so many things looking as if they are going well. And so I know people can relate to it because I too had to relate to that. I had to really ask myself the question, who are you? And that is why now when I meet people, I don't ask them, what do you do? I ask them to tell me about themselves.
Mhm.
And there's a big difference because to your point, we carry a lot of roles. And when you say, what do you do? Some people will gravitate to talking about, I'm a mom, and they'll talk about their family. Some people will gravitate to talking about what they do professionally or what they may do from a volunteer standpoint. But I want to know who you are
Mhm.
because you're going to show up and be healthy and you're going to show up and be resilient to your word when you have a better understanding of who you are. So thank you. Thank you for
Mhm.
sharing your testimony and your experience, your low points, and how you were able to kind of work through that. So tell me a little bit about now that you're at the point of serving as a resilience mentor, like who are you showing up for? What women find themselves being served best? Like where are they at in their journey that you're coming in to be that shot in the arm energizer to help empower them through?
Honestly, they are at the point of they need to do life differently. That's where they're at the point that I was before I was led on to the wet grass that day. They're at that point of something needs to change and needs to change now. I don't know where to start. I don't know who to look to. I don't even know if I want to tap into these feelings. That's where she is right now. Um, and that's where I'm focusing on right now because I think that is the most important, and that is part of my why is to catch that woman before she, is completely feel like she just can't do anything else. She's just falling on her knees and just, so it's a very important part for her, and it's a lot. It's a lot, and I understand because you have the response, like I said, the responsibility. She's a mom, therefore, or she's the leader of the family, therefore, you can't just think about yourself. When it comes to these feelings, because you also want to make a decision that is best for everyone else. That's just what a mom does. Before we make a decision, we think, what is going to happen to everyone else if I make this decision? It's a very hard leap to take, very hard leap to take. So that's where she is. She is just looking for support. She's looking for the support, someone that can understand. Um, and is going to help her to begin to feel a lot better, her days to feel a lot better, feel a lot better. How can she wake up feeling less stressful, looking forward to waking up each day, show up better as a parent for herself if she's in a relationship, all those things. So that is where she is right now.
So I know for me, one of the steps that was pretty pivotal has been slowing down.
Mm.
I masked a lot underneath busyness. And it's pretty crazy because people, they look at me now and think I'm busy, but this is nothing in comparison to how high octane I used to function and how busy and how many things I kept going and balls in the air. And so I have slowed down significantly and have been able to get a better glimpse. But to your point, in doing so, I've had to contend with those things that the busyness allowed me to just run on by. When you think about what is important for a person on this type of journey to do or take into consideration, what are some intentional habits, behavior, choices, and decisions that need to be prioritized for her in this type of journey and season?
What I like to tell everyone is to begin your days with you, because the number one responsibility you have is with yourself. Once you realize that, I feel everything else kind of falls into place. And when I say that, it's literally spending time with yourself. Like you said, Denise, that those beginning stages was a lot of alone time that I didn't think was possible as a mother, but it's definitely, possible when your intentions change and, that you are ready, because she is ready to make a change today. You really have to spend time with yourself. For me, affirmations was one of the very first things that I leaned into. Affirmations, I know everyone talks about affirmations a lot, but they are very helpful. They help me a lot. I still use them to this day. Very helpful. How you speak to yourself is very important. We can sometimes find ourselves, not that I wasn't a person that spoke badly about myself, but everyone's different. However, I was a person that didn't speak to herself at all. I didn't speak to myself at all. Therefore, I relied on other words from other people and latched onto that. So a lot of women might be in that space of where you don't even realize I'm not even speaking to myself, kids will be kids and men will be men. So therefore they don't really understand, and can really tap into those feelings that maybe we really need and need to hear, but it has to come from you first. It has to come from you first. It's a part of covering yourself. I like to say that, I am intentional about covering myself each and every day. Before I hear the first mommy or whatever, before I am anybody to anybody else, I have to be yourself first. Start with you. That is the number one advice I give to everyone. And I get a lot of different reactions to it. Like, yes, your number one responsibility is definitely you. Have that space. Quiet the noise for just a moment. I'm very intentional about that each and every day. So
I love that. I love that advice. And I love the fact that you really called out the power of affirmations, because you're right. It is the love language that you are able to give to yourself. It made me think internally, because a lot of times, especially as women, to your point, our love interest, our love relationship isn't fulfilling our tank with those words that we long to hear. But we have just as much power to say them to ourselves if we desire them. And they are just as impactful when you do quiet it down and you are very inwardly focused and can love on yourself in that way. And so I think that's a huge and powerful nugget. I also think affirmations are powerful because the Bible tells us, as we think, that is who we are, who we become. And so if we can begin to train ourselves to have good thoughts about ourselves, rewarding, confirming, affirming thoughts about ourselves, we can see ourselves begin to feel more confident and strong and able to make those tough decisions, hard choices, and navigate in a way that we sometimes don't give ourselves grace to do when the pressure is on and we're juggling it all. And
Right.
so I appreciate that. Anything else you want to add to the journeys you help your clients go through?
Um, I guess being open to help and support. Um, this is runs deep with me because I am a woman that acted alone. I was a one-woman show for a very long time. And along this journey, is when I learned that about help and support, what it truly means. It doesn't mean that you're incapable. It doesn't mean that you are failing. It doesn't mean that you've gotten it all wrong. It doesn't mean that you'll be found out that you don't have it all together. It's okay. Nobody has it all together. We're all a work in progress, which is what a journey is, right? A journey is moving from one place to the next, which means that you're understanding that this is just a chapter in your book. This is a page that will be turned. Understanding that instead of trying to rush towards this destination of where you've had it all figured out, and now you're happy because you have it all figured out. That's the destination that nobody has arrived to. Mm-hmm. None of us have arrived yet. So just, the help and support to be able to transition your mind to understand that this is just a part of your story. This is a part of your experience. Life is to be experienced, not to push through or suppress yourself through and make sure that everyone else is all right. It's to be experienced. A lot of life lessons and blessings in those hard times and good times that we can't really pay attention to if our head is down and we're pushing through, or we're just set focus on other things that we can't really realize that this is part of an experience, which is why sometimes, not to get off topic, but sometimes this is why some of the same feelings and situations cycle back in our lives over and over again. There's a lesson that needs to be learned. So be open to support. Like I said, I'm still learning that. I've come a long way, but we're the foundation of our families. We're also the influencer of our families as well. So I believe as a collective, if we're on this journey of knowing and becoming the best version of ourselves, like the impact we will have for our children, for our, family members, all the things, I think we're powerful. So we're so much more powerful together, being true to who we are, not wearing this mask. Just having a space where you don't have to wear that mask is very important. So I look to create that.
I'm sure you heard it too, just like me, just how authentic and transparent Navasia has been in sharing her story. You see, it's not always easy to share those dark places, those low points that you have to make a shift to turn around. But when someone is willing to lift their voice and share, I always know that someone will hear them and be encouraged. That is one of the reasons why I am so committed to lifting voices. Not only on my platform do I consider it an honor and a privilege to have people come and share their journeys, I also help other people establish their platforms where they can be a voice for help and change. You see, when we hear the stories, the overcoming stories, much like Navasia has shared, we know that we are not alone and that someone has gotten through what it is we are struggling to face. That is what I call discovering your why that experience happened to you and why it is now important for you to lift your voice. One of the roles that I have taken on is to be a lifter of voices. With the Embrace Your Power platform, I do that, but even more, I help people launch their own podcast through my podcast prep program. You're going to hear in just a bit how Navasia took advantage of partnering with us to do that. And the reason why that's significant is because now she has her own platform where she can bring other people to the table to share their stories, and she can continue to share hers. I know what it's like to sit in that seat and be looking for an answer, be feeling all alone and waiting to hear someone simply share that you're going to make it in a way that resonates with you. And so now, if you know you've been feeling that nudge to launch your own podcast, I want to offer you the opportunity to learn more about podcast prep. So if you go to my website, www.denisetaylor.live, there's more information about the podcast prep program on there. And I would consider it an honor to be able to help you start your own podcast and lift your voice. So now that we're back, I want us to talk a little bit about your journey to showing up. So you shared with us that you initially started in your healing journey, writing blogs and being available that way. But at some point you had a shift and you were like, I think I need to lift my voice and start a podcast. So how did you get to that point that you knew you wanted to take that step forward and begin a podcast and become a podcast host?
Well, first off, I did it scared. I am what you call an introvert. So something I've learned along the way. So I've always had a lot to say. However, didn't always feel comfortable saying it. But it was a nudge during my quiet time, every morning during prayer time, you need to share your voice. You need to share your voice. So I finally began to listen. And not only that, just being obedient to that, but also the woman I am talking to, she really needs to hear the transparency in my voice. She really is too busy maybe to even sit down and read an entire blog. She's doing all the things, but to know that I can whisper a new mindset or uplift her, encourage her throughout what she may be feeling is what really allowed me to step into it scared. To be honest with you, I was very scared. I was a podcast listener, and podcasts had actually helped me through my journey as well. There were a few podcasts that I listened to along my journey that tapped into, sometimes of what I was feeling in that moment. So I know it's podcasts and your voice is very powerful. It's very powerful. So that's how it began.
Yeah, it's the same compelling reason for me. Podcasts have always, well, not always, since I've been listening, I'll say that, have always been an encouragement because you can just take them in. And once you connect with someone who's speaking, it doesn't matter how many people are saying that story.
Right.
When you hear that voice that resonates with you, they say it how you can receive it. It is a lifeline for you. And that is one of the reasons why I personally am such an advocate for lifting voices, because I know that there's someone waiting to hear. There's someone who needs an answer, who's going to tune in and hear that voice that's going to make a difference in their lives, because I know that has been true for me. And it sounds like that's been true for you. Tell us more about the podcast.
Well, my podcast is called, of course, Her Authentic Journey. And it's basically a platform where I am taking initiative to normalize a conversation that we have been taught along the way to hide from having, as far as being true to who we are, the feelings that we have as, the strong mom, independent woman, responsible woman as well, tapping into those real conversations about how it really feels the obstacles we may face, the growing. So it's myself sharing parts of my story, parts of my learning on this journey as well. I do episodes as well of a lot of the revelations that I have during the journey. I also have guests that definitely understand, as well as I, the power and importance of them telling their story and walking into the woman that they truly are and the woman that they are becoming.
Awesome. I will tell you, it was my absolute honor to be a part of your podcast journey and to have you allow my team to support you in lifting your voice and helping you to launch your podcast. And so, if you don't mind, share a little bit from your perspective of what it's like to work with us and be a part of podcast prep. And now we even still support you on your podcast now.
Yes, like I said, talking about help and support, right? I definitely, Denise, in her podcast prep has been very helpful. I had to be honest with myself with podcasts. Like I said, it was a big shift into lifting my voice and using my voice. So Denise has been very helpful in helping me in ways that I'm not so great at. And I was very honest about that, the fact that I need to focus on just speaking at this point. I can't do all the other things. So yes, Denise and her team are very helpful. She definitely understands, as a podcast host herself, how it is important. The message is important. So she's like, what do you focus on the message, and whatever else you need, I'm here to support you. So that's really good, because when, the podcast, it's my baby, was my baby. So therefore, and I care about the delivery. So I was able to entrust her because I know she serves a woman as well. She has a heart for women as well. So therefore, there was no problem. I wasn't worried about it at all. Very transparent. Always, if I need help with anything, she will definitely hop on with me. You definitely hopped on with me quite a few times to walk me through whatever I needed help and support with. So yes, great. Great working with
that.
you.
I really do appreciate that. And here's the thing I can tell you from my perspective that I loved about working with you. Once you made a decision to get it out of the gate, you were just committed to making that happen. But with you, you have evolved over time. You didn't say, oh, I've just been doing it this way. Because I can remember I was like, well, do you want music? You were like, nope, that's going to delay me. Right. It's going to slow me down. I just need to get going. And then eventually over time, you layered the other things in. And to me, that's the beauty of being able to own your own journey with something and be able to say, I just got to get going. And the rest of that I'll figure out along the way. And so I just love how you jumped in the driver's seat of that and really owned your own experience. And I just appreciated being able to support you on that journey. So thank you so much for staying connected with us. Absolutely. So around these parts, I'm a big advocate for building a life that we love. And I always close out with tapping into wisdom. And so let's just do a little bit more. You've shared so much, but let's just go deeper. So what's your life wisdom? What would you tell your younger self about life if you could?
No one will be able to do life like you have done. No one is you. So you can't get it wrong. You can always look to do better. You're not alone, I would say to my younger self, that these hard times will be your life lessons. They're prepping you for what is to come. Although you may not feel like it right now, but it will be revealed to you when you're ready. That's what I would say.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Love wisdom. What would you tell your younger self about love if you could?
Love is much more than a word. Love does not. Love comes in many forms. I think that's it.
Okay. That's good. That's good because it does. It
Mm-hmm.
comes in a whole lot of forms. And I think one of the things that unfortunately our experience sometimes teaches us is that it should hurt in some way. And it shouldn't. Good love, it's an action. It's something that uplifts us and it keeps us secure. And it does indeed come in many forms. Happiness wisdom. What would you tell your younger self about happiness if you could?
I would tell my younger self that you're looking in the wrong direction, to look within, that everything you need is within you. Don't put the responsibility on someone else of something that you already have within you.
That's beautiful. Very, very beautiful. So, how can listeners get in touch with you, get connected with you?
Well, I am on Instagram at Her Authentic Journey. Facebook, you can find me, or you can join the Her Authentic Journey private Facebook community, or my personal page, which is Navasia Collier, and the podcast.
All right, Navasia, I am so glad you joined me and I appreciate you being a guest with us here. I'm going to make sure everything gets put into the show notes so that people can get connected with you. And I want you to know, I really mean this. Success looks so good on you. I want you to keep going and showing up for those who need to hear your voice. I appreciate you doing that.
And I appreciate you as well, Denise. Listen, you inspire me as well. You show up. You're very consistent. Listen, I'm paying attention and I'm learning. Thank you for all that you do as well.
Thank you. Well, that's it, beautiful. Thank you for tuning in. Don't ever forget that you are truly blessed with life, love, and all the happiness your heart can hold. Be relentless in building a life you love without apology. I'm Denise Taylor, and you can always find me in our free Facebook community. It's Embrace Your Power. Easy to find. Now be sure to rate and review this podcast and share it with a friend. And make sure you subscribe so that we can stay connected each week. And remember, God has not given us a spirit of fear. He gave us power. So be sure to always embrace your power and go.